Hello, Jeremy. Hope you're doing well. Came across this video from Tim Pool talking about social media kind of being dampered in California and in Texas. I don't know what he's so excited about at all. So we're going to go into this and we're going to break this stuff down, add more to what he said, talk about why he's wrong with this stuff. And we're just going to, I found it a little easier to just kind of play the video and stop and comment as we go.
People like Steven Crowder. Now, Crowder's over in Texas.
I didn't know Crowder was in Texas. I guess he moved. I think he was over there in California at first, pretty close to Ben Shapiro, and that's where the two of them met. That Ben was actually representing Steven Crowder for something, and that's how they became friends, and they've been on each other's shows. But I know people have been leaving. I think they've all left actually now because, Joe Rogan has left. He's moved to Texas as well. He's down there in Austin. I don't know where Steven Crowder is. Tim Pool has moved, though not to Texas, but after this he's talking about maybe he should move to Texas or to Florida. And Ben Shapiro went to Tennessee, I believe. Both these states, Florida and Texas, are proposing two different bills to crack down on what's going on with social media, which is just virtue signaling drivel as far as I care. I will specifically point all this out. But for right now, if you like what I'm doing, give me a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, because all that helps my channel grow, helps more people join, because I'm going to build a website that's going to deal with this. There just needs a large bit of this is there needs to be accountability for these people. It needs to be up-to-date, accurate information where everybody can express themselves. Nobody's going to get hampered, because if you're spreading a lie, then I want to know about that lie and I want it bashed into oblivion. I know exactly how to do this. If I just had things in my personal life that these issues weren't going on, I'd be able to do much better with all this, and it's going to end at some point in time. It can't go on forever. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into it.
Texas's bill may go through it.
I'll also have links in the description down below if you want to watch the entire video. I'm not going to go over every single little thing, but a lot of it.
And give him similar protections. But it's time to start having some very serious discussions about whether or not we all need to move to Florida or Texas, assuming these bills actually...
Yeah, so that's good. He talks about if they actually get passed, and I think there's some very real reasons as to why it won't.
...signed into law. After that, there's still the issue of federal jurisdiction, because these big tech companies are in California, and whether or not this...
And that's a great example that he brought up was don't think this is going to happen, because these are different states. So whenever it goes up to a federal level, what are they going to do? Here's Mark Zuckerberg. And he was a no-show to the British Parliament. He's not British. Why should he have to go? He doesn't have to go. He doesn't have to do a damn thing. Just like if California said something to me, sent me something, so I'm not going to go. I'm not going to deal anything with that. I don't live in California. I'm not going to deal with California. I live in Texas. It'll be Texas. Same thing for everyone else. People do this too with companies. They'll open up companies in other states just because they like the protections that they're offering. You don't have to live in the state that you're opening up a business. You can open up a business in Texas. I mean, there might be some that do, but you don't have to. For a lot of these things, one of the things that they'll do is like, it's been a while, but Arizona has better laws with taxation or income or something along those lines. You can start up a business in Arizona, have the people who you care about the most, such as friends and family members who are working for you, and they can work for both companies. They can work kind of like for your main company, and then they can work for this subsidiary company over here in Arizona. They do all this work over here, but they don't get paid. because they're also working for this company in Arizona, and they provide services for company A. They overcharge for doing really nothing because they're really not doing the work, but it shows all of this on paper. So all the money gets transferred over here, and then they get paid, where they have different, more relaxed laws on how to deal with all that. This is something that I've actually had an accountant talk to about with dealings with something that kind of fell through at the last moment. It's like, yeah, you can do it. It's just like whenever people take their money and they put it in the Cayman Islands because they don't like the way that the American tax laws are or whatever. Or in a Swiss bank account. People do this on national levels and they do it on state levels. So, yeah, so start up a company in Texas or Florida, and if you just start to have any problems, you don't have to run and win. You just have to say, I'm running for office. Do absolutely nothing. And then see if you can go ahead and get some kind of lawsuit against them. That would be interesting. I've heard of such things. There was a story that I've heard where, for a while, there used to be such a thing out at bars called Ladies' Night. And this guy went around to all these bars, these clubs or whatever, where it was ladies only, ladies' night kind of thing, and he sued them. He said, that's discrimination. You can't discriminate against race, sex, color, national origin, gender. He said, well, you can't discriminate against me because I'm a man. And apparently, I think he got all that. He got quite a bit of money for doing all that. So I went ahead and pulled it up real quick here. This is back in March 5th of 2008. CNN Money, a legal crusade against Ladies' Night. Gentleman Steve Horner has your back, protecting you from what he calls the feminist Marxist conspiracy that promotes ladies' nights in bars. You might chuckle, unless, of course, you own such a place. Gives about who he is. I don't care. And at this time, he spent 18 months filing civil rights complaints against Denver bars and clubs that offer lady night discounts. And he's been winning. The Colorado Civil Rights Commission issued a resolution discouraging, if not banning, the promotions, and in 2 cases a judge awarded Horner not that much money. But I don't know how many times this has happened. I think this is something that kind of has gone on and on and on in several different places. And if that's all that it is, I tell you what, if I was one of these bar owners, it's like $182, $141. Yeah, I'll pay that. Like, that's going to mean anything. Man, I'd probably double it just to mock him. You know how much money they get paid? It's like, it's nothing. Still, Denver entrepreneurs are proving to be endlessly adaptive. Horner's first victim, this club launched Lipstick Thursdays, where appropriately war-painted men got the same discounts as their sisters. Okay, well, whatever. That seems to be a clever solution to do exactly what bar owners want you to do without doing something that would be found illegal. It's like that. This happens all the time, too. To really stop something legally, there's just too many loopholes. That's why there's all these loopholes within the tax code. Because you can't cover it all. It's just, how creative are you? And there are some accountants who are extremely creative. This is actually going to go really well with what I'm about to talk to with Tim Pool and his ridiculous claims with all this and what's going on.
Supreme Court will uphold these state laws, but you may get an emergency injunction should they ban you. So it seems like a good reason to move to these states. I mean, Texas and Florida got rid of their restrictions.
No, it doesn't. Those are not good reasons at all, because it depends on the state. I guess I'll give them a little leeway.
Go out, you can hang out, you can have drinks, go to restaurants. Life's normal, and now they will protect your political opinion.
Now, that's true. Here in Texas, life is back to normal. We don't have to wear no stupid masks. You know what? If something changes, if one of these new strains is actually deadly and it's doing something, it's like, yeah, sure, I'll wear a mask. I wore a mask once. Once. I forgot where I was going. I went in someplace and they were just yelling, throwing a fit. Put it on, and then I watched a video from someone, it might have been Sticks and Hammer, and talked about how, no, that's against HIPAA regulations, and they can't do that. And it's like, oh, I know all about this stuff because I have a business, which is where I've been putting a lot of my time in, unfortunately, because there's been some things that have arisen as soon as I started doing this, and it's still, anyways. And it's like, yes, I know all about this, and it is illegal. And I started spouting that stuff off, and I take out my phone and started recording, and they all backed off. And then it just got to the point where I just stopped recording, and I just walked in and just let them yell at me. And nobody ever did anything, not once. It's like, go ahead, call the police. I'm sure they have nothing better to do than to come around and to talk to somebody about wearing their mask. It's like nothing ever happened at all. Oh, what is this? Okay. And so, yeah, so I wore a mask once. And they yelled at me everywhere. Going to Home Depot, Lowe's, Target, Walmart. It's like, go ahead, call the police. I'll wait. For like that long, and it's like, they didn't do anything. So I just went about my business. But yeah, we don't do anything. We don't do a damn thing. Now, there's still people who wear their masks, and I don't know why. You know, if you are at risk, you know, maybe you should. But the people who are really at risk, it's like nobody.
In the marketplace of ideas. It's the most important thing for conservatives to make sure they can actually debate their ideas. As it stands right now, you will get banned for saying the wrong thing. And there's nothing that these conservatives can do about it unless or until these...
No, that's all wrong. That's all trash. Do not tell me that there's nothing you can do without the government coming in and holding your hand, acting like Big Brother, holding little baby's hand. Screw that crap.
Bills become law. This is...
Oh.
It's huge, my friends, and I'm going to show you some examples of just how serious the bias is. I am going to definitively prove that the bias exists. I think it's funny that...
So I'm not arguing with him about this. I understand that there is a bias against conservatives and that it is out there, and if you've been paying attention to the news, that's absolutely correct. I'm not arguing that. It's right, spot on. And this is what he does a really good job of, is that he pays attention to the news. He calls out all the lies and hypocrisy. That's great. But whenever it comes to kind of understanding politics and the government and all that, and his ideas for policies, I don't agree with a lot of that stuff that he says, and this is another case of where I don't.
The mainstream press that lies all day every day would argue it's not true. They actually claim, in my Wikipedia today, Tim Pool says that conservatives face bias at the hands of big tech. I can prove it definitively, no questions asked. I'm going to show you proof definitively. And you can share it with your friends and say, look at that. That's the evidence. Which brings...
Yeah, and I like all that, and share with your friends and stuff, and with this too, but I don't know, I don't ever share any of this stuff with my friends. I just kind of watch this at my leisure, so I can't imagine who really does that. I don't know, maybe there's some people, I guess if it was something that was more associated with the kind of work that you were doing, you would, but I mean, outside of that, who wants to? It's like, I have other things going on outside of this, and we don't talk about this stuff.
Speak to Project Veritas.
I mean, maybe a little bit, but not that much.
Because the example, for the most part, is them. It literally is them. They're suing Twitter. This is a huge day for conservatives, the anti-woke, and the pro-free.
So he's talking about... Well, I'm going to go ahead and show this video. Where is it? So here is Dan Crenshaw. Oh, I didn't know he was from Texas, I thought. I didn't know. Texas, Florida, whatever, so... he does it all wrong. He has that eye patch, and it's just... I would have something gnarly. I'd make a statement out of it. I wouldn't do that. It's like, oh, you're going to know. It's like it's... The saying goes, don't let any crisis, or every crisis is an opportunity. I forgot what it is. But this is an opportunity right here. It's something that's unique that he could use to kind of make himself stand out, and he doesn't do it. So what this is Dan Crenshaw confronts Jack Dorsey for suspending Project Veritas on Twitter. I don't like any of this either. This is ridiculous.
But the fact remains that community standards on social media platforms are perceived to be applied unequally with blatant bias. Mr. Dorsey, in just one example, I saw a video from Project Veritas that was taken down because they confronted a Facebook executive on his front lawn. But here's the thing, I can show you a video of CNN doing the exact same thing to an old woman who was a Trump supporter in her front yard. I've looked at both videos. It's an apples to apples comparison. CNN remains up. Project Veritas was taken down. I'll give you a chance to respond to that. I have a feeling you're going to tell me you have to look into it.
I don't have an understanding of the case, but I would imagine if we were to take a video like that down, it would be due to a doxing concern, private address.
The address was blurred out. You don't have it. You don't have the case in front of you. I get that. The point is there's countless examples like this. I just found that one today.
I don't know what the point of this is. What is Dan doing here? Sounds like virtue signaling. Hey, look at this. I went after this company, this CEO, this whoever, and what happened? Nothing. This is the key thing that keeps happening over and over and over and over again. Nothing happens. He virtue signaled. He got up there. Dan's up there going, look at me. Aren't I spiffy? Woo! So here I'm just going to go ahead and get into one of the biggest problems that I have. Is fraud a crime? In law, fraud is intentional deception to secure unfair or unlawful gain, or to, and I'm reading over here, to deprive a victim of a legal right. Fraud can violate civil law or criminal law, or it may cause no loss of money, property, or legal right, but still be an element of another civil or criminal wrong. Is fraud a crime? Yes. Laws on fraud. Fraud involves using a lie, deception, falsehood, or dishonesty in an attempt to gain a benefit. The states and the federal governments have identified many types of fraud as criminal. Fraud may be prosecuted as both a criminal and civil offense. Criminal punishments for fraud can include a combination of prison, fines, and restitution to victims. In proven cases of fraud, the perpetrator, a person who carries out a harmful, illegal, or immoral act, may be found to have committed either a criminal offense or a civil wrong. I'm actually kind of going through a civil suit myself right now with fraud. And so, as we watch Tim's video here and all of this, these laws do nothing. You know why? Because it's already illegal. You cannot commit fraud. You cannot lie. You cannot deceive. You can't be deceptive. You cannot be dishonest. So if they're already there, what's this going to do? It's just like people who say, we need to have common sense gun laws. We already have gun laws. And you know what they do? Nothing. They still get a hold of these guns. How about this? We have laws against drugs. And what do? Nothing. Because people who break the laws because they can get away with it. That's not the problem. The problem is that these politicians and these elected officials get to lie and cheat and be scoundrels every step of the way. They get to say and do whatever they want to with no repercussions whatsoever. Why aren't they going to prison in droves for this nonsense? So something that I've talked about is that whenever they are running for office, today, with all the internet capabilities that we have and technological advances that we have, they should be able to have a website that's up that has all of the things that they're running on, all their key issues, all their talking points, whatever, and they should be listed there. And they should be locked in. And whenever they've been voted into office, whenever they've gotten that position, they don't get to change. That's what they got elected on. They have to stay to it. It doesn't matter if they change their minds because they're not there for their benefits. They're supposed to represent the people, us, the people who voted. They're representatives of their areas, of their communities, not there for their own personal gains. But that's what they do. They lie like mad to get into office, and whenever they get there, they go back. Biden's been doing this like crazy. He is deporting people back. He is building up some sections of the wall. He's doing the opposite of this stuff. He hasn't dismantled ICE. He's not going to get rid of anybody's guns. He lied constantly. And you know what? All of them, every last one of them. Did Trump do it? Yeah, but he didn't do it as bad. And he had a lot of problems with it. So he did run on the campaign slogan, we're going to build that wall. And he did. No, he didn't build all of it. Did he get Mexico to pay for it? No, I mean, kind of in a way, because he did talk about restricting trade with them. So, yeah, and then he did really kind of do it in a way. And that was, he said, we are not going to take these people in whenever they come into Mexico, because if they're fleeing a place like Guatemala because of some kind of tyrannical government, then they succeeded whenever they came into Mexico, and we're not going to take them, you take them. And it's like, well, that wasn't quite paying for the wall, but they are paying for these refugees and assimilating them into Mexico instead. It was clever. It was clever. And I think part of that is because Trump is not a politician. He's a businessman first. And yeah, he just did a bunch of wheeling and dealing, and he got it to work. I mean, I think that's kind of the environment that you would expect a billion-dollar businessman to be used to engaging with. Is, all right, well, here's a win-win for both, and if not, then yeah, we're not going to deal. Anyways, so what's the point of having these laws whenever we already have them there? What's the point? We're not doing anything with the ones that we have on the books. The problem is the politicians. They have to be held accountable. So let's get back into this nonsense.
Speech crowd with the passing of this bill. Let's read the news. But before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become bill. And I got to tell you, it is powerful stuff. It would protect.
No, it's not. Because these laws already exist.
My company. And if we want to report on news.
Okay, now I will throw a bomb. And that is, maybe there are some states, such as Texas and California, where if this were to actually happen, maybe they would do something. But again, what the hell do people in California care about Texas or Florida? What are they really going to do? California cannot send their officers to Texas or Florida to do any kind of arrest. They can't do anything. They can do absolutely nothing.
We don't have to fear getting banned.
It's just like the cops here in Texas cannot go to any other state, your state, whatever state, unless if you actually live in Texas. But if you live in any other state other than Texas, Texas cops are not going to come knocking on your door arresting you for anything. If you've really done something illegal, though, Texas would have to work with the state that this person lives in. So say somebody did commit like a murder or a theft, robbery, rape or whatever, Texas couldn't go and get them. They would have to, and say they lived in like, I don't know, Kansas. They would have to contact the Kansas state government, and then Kansas law enforcement officers would go make the arrest, and then they would do a transfer that guy back to Texas where the crime happened. But you would have to get Kansas to agree to it, and in those situations, rape, theft, murder, whatever, they would agree to that. Something like this. These big tech companies bring in a lot of money, jobs, all kinds of things. You think that they're going to risk that? You think they're going to turn in their people, their paychecks, their sources of income? No, of course not.
That's powerful stuff. Here's the story from the Sun Sentinel. Social media crackdown clears Florida Senate, giving Ron DeSantis one of his top priorities. Before we get started, smash that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share the show if you really like it. The Sun Sentinel said,
same thing. I mean, if you like this, share it. I'd appreciate it. It helps me out. And just start up a conversation. I think we don't talk to people enough in person or personally enough with the people that we do know. It's too much of anonymity that goes on online where you kind of say whatever you want to without any kind of repercussions. I have an answer for that too. I have an answer for a lot of this stuff.
In one of
And I know for those of you who are watching, it's like, well, why don't you tell us? Because I don't want somebody else to run away with it. For those of you who are the first ones watching and tuning into this, you're just going to have to be patient and wait. I think it's going to take between 1 to 3 years just to give you an idea, and I will definitely be changing as all this goes on. I mean, there's no way it's going to be staying the same, but yeah, it's going to be exciting. You're going to watch something big happen before your eyes with me. Absolutely.
Governor Ron DeSantis' top priorities in the legislative session, the Florida Senate on Monday passed a measure to crack down on social media companies that remove users from their platforms. The Republican-controlled Senate platforms. Companies that violate the prohibition could face fines of $100,000 a day for statewide candidates and...
And I like everything that they're saying, that you don't get to bar candidates from being able to use these platforms. It's like, well, yeah. There's just no way to enforce it. It's just like what I was showing over here with Mark Zuckerberg. Let's say they did the exact same thing. They said that we've got these laws that we've now passed through Parliament, and we're going to charge you $100,000 a day. Okay, you're charging them $100,000 a day. Now what? They can't send British constables on over to America to do a damn thing. You know what would happen? He could call up the police and arrest the constables. And the constables would be thrown in American jail. There's nothing you can do. The only thing that could happen is that Britain would have to attack America. Same thing with the states. Florida charges Mark Zuckerberg, or what was that Twitter guy? Twitter guy, Jack Dorsey, $100,000 a day. He doesn't live there. There's nothing you can do to him. These billionaires, they live on planes and they fly around all over the place, all over the time. They have homes, $1 million mansions all around the world. What are you going to do? Virtue signaling. That's all it is.
$10,000 a day for other candidates. The proposals also require social media companies to publish standards about issues just blocking users and apply the standards consistently, which they...
And they're supposed to do this already. They're already supposed to have all this as public information, and they're supposed to be consistent. These are already laws. So how's putting more laws out there going to change anything?
Don't do. Pointing to the dominance of a handful of technology companies, such as Amazon, Facebook, and Google, Bill's sponsor Ray Rodriguez, said, big tech is not a free market, and that the state has a role in regulating such companies.
No, they don't. They absolutely. Big tech is not a free market. It absolutely is. They're private companies, and if you don't like them, then you do what I'm doing, and you create your own. So I'm creating something kind of along these lines. It's a lot. It's more than all this nonsense, because it's the only way that it can be dealt with. So I have huge aspirations, and it's going to happen, because I also have it kind of played out in stages. I've got some ideas for some apps too that I know would do pretty well. It would be on how to get them out there, though, and also the money to be able to fund the development of those apps. But I think I came up with about 6 or 7 of them, but only 2 of them were really pretty dead on. There was kind of a third one. I was trying really hard for a third solid one. I'll have to look into it again and see if I can do the third one. They all correlate with each other too, so they tie together in a way. So hopefully, if things go decently well, I can do that in like a year or 2. But I don't know. We'll see how things play out. So
they do. Quote, when the battle is between a monopoly on one side and hardworking Americans on the other, the right side of history has always been on the side of the people.
Shut the hell up. Do you have any references for that? Because you know what? Whenever I take a look around here in America, that is not what I see. Whenever I see Google and Facebook and all of these other large companies, I see they are monopolies, and the people didn't win because they have protections from the government. That's why. Because they have red tape that goes from here to the moon that no small business can really compete with. It's trash. So it's virtue signaling.
People, Rodriguez said. It has never been on the side of the monopolies, not in this country.
Not? Are you kidding me? You're telling me you don't know? Google and Facebook are here in America, and you're saying they don't exist in this country? That's exactly where they're from. Man, talk about... He just blasted himself over this. It was his own words where he just ran around in a circle. Not monopolies here in this country. Twitter's a monopoly in this country right here. Oh, wordplay, lip service, nonsense, virtue signaling, trash. I swear, it's like I live in clown world. I hear this all the time whenever I hear this crap. It's backwards.
But Senator Jeff Brandes, a St. Petersburg Republican who joined Democrats in voting against the bill, said the measure is unconstitutional and that it's a big government bill.
That's right. As I've listened to this stupid bill, to me it sounds like the conservatives' version of, what was that one with AOC? The Green New Deal? Bunch of ridiculous stuff on there that has no business being on there. I swear, they set this thing up to fail.
Perhaps. Well, what is with these pathetic and spineless Republicans that are too stupid to stop these companies from shutting them down to save their own careers, ideologies, families, children? Are you insane?
He's right. Republicans don't do jack. They don't do a damn thing. Whenever the Democrats are in office and they have power, they push all these crazy bills on through, and whenever Republicans do, they don't do anything. They just sit there on their butts and do nothing. It's because if they were to really act like Republicans, by upholding Republican values, then they should be destroying a lot of the legislation. And Trump did that. One of the things that he did was that for every bill that was passed, 2 bills had to be removed. So if you've been watching my content, you know that I like to pull up evidence, so I paused it right then, and I found it and pulled up. This is on Forbes. Donald Trump promises to eliminate 2 regulations for everyone enacted, and this was in more than 4 years ago. I thought he did it. Let me pause and do a little bit more digging around. That didn't take long. It was the next one right underneath it. So this is from Politico. Trump signs executive order requiring for that every new regulation must be revoked. President Donald Trump signed an executive order Monday morning requiring that for every new federal regulation implemented, that 2 must be rescinded. This is exactly what conservatives are supposed to be doing. Or at least my understanding of it. And here in Texas, and so I don't know how it is, and if it's the same kind of feeling in other states. I think in some states it is a little bit different, but yes. It's like, yes, that's good. He actually did what they're supposed to do. Yeah, he kind of said, screw you. You're not going to support me? I'll just do it myself. However, it depends. Presidents have gotten carried away with signing these administrative actions. A lot of them, to me, from my understanding, appear to be illegal. That you're supposed to be passing all of these bills through Congress, and then he can either sign them or veto them. That they just don't get to arbitrarily bypass the voters. No, that's not the way that it works.
I'm not so much conservative. I agree with conservatives on some things. I agree with the left and liberals on some things. But one thing I think is we must allow free inquiry, and we can't have a handful of billionaire oligarchs telling us what we can or can't say. Now think about the pandemic. In a country where people have been locked down for a year.
And see, but the problem is that new companies have a hard time getting up. I know I am going to have a hard time getting up and going on this. And I need your help with this. I am not going to play these games at all. They can all bite me. Every last one of them. I know exactly what to do. I have one hurdle that I have to do. Or there's kind of like two things that I need to happen. One is that I need to build up a following of people, and then I need funding. It's a little and it's a lot. I need roughly $100,000 to be able to get going. I think that'll be enough to really kind of set me off and going. Maybe I could start off with less, but there's just those two hurdles, and then nothing will stop me because I have one phase after the next. They all work off of each other, but man, this first part, it's gonna be a grind, but it's gonna be worth it. Everything is going to definitely end up being better than what it is right now. I'm sure there will be new problems that will arise. I know how to handle problems. I know what to do with those. I actually have it where I can say it, and you would understand what it is that I'm talking about and be able to understand how, yeah, I could see how something like that would absolutely work.
Here, and their opinions are being funneled through big tech. Yeah, that's creepy. Maybe you want to talk about your opinions on certain...
It's not creepy. It's corrupt. Corruption's been around forever. I don't find it creepy. I find it wrong.
...issues that are questionable or taboo. I mean, I agree with those opinions. You're allowed to have them. Well, now you go on social media. You can't go see your friends. The only thing you're allowed to say is, what, Orange Man bad? That is creepy and wrong. Who is this moron in the Republican Party who doesn't get that? I've had these arguments. I was talking to...
Why are you... So, name calling, that's a slur. That's not a point. And you could easily say, because this Republican who voted against it decided that, no, this is an encroachment on free speech and the right of business to be able to conduct business. I agree with it. I probably agree with that Republican who voted against it more than I do with the others, and it's because, like I said, it's already illegal. That's not the problem. So putting more laws on the books, what kind of magic fairy tale land do you live in where you think that's going to make a difference? It's just like with Antifa, where they get arrested by the cops and then the DAs just throw the case out. That's harsh.
Libertarians say, oh, we can't regulate these private companies. It's a violation of their free speech. And I was like, dude, when they monopolize...
No, see, they do need to be regulated just a little bit. And that's whenever they're lying and they're cheating and they're stealing and they're doing all this other crap. For those things, just to the point where they have to be regulated, where they have to compete honestly and fairly and with transparency. Not deals behind closed doors that screw everybody over. I mean, if they really want to do it, they can, but it should be public information. And I understand that back in the day, you couldn't do this. So, like, whenever I was a little kid, didn't have cell phones, didn't have the internet and all this stuff. And so maybe some tweaking in the laws to kind of adjust for it a little bit, but it's not all this. It's absolutely not all this.
Town center, when you can't even talk to your politicians or speak politics in a public setting because they bought the land and they control 90% of it, you need to regulate that. They're seizing the commons. Company can still exist. Company can still be the biggest and only platform in that space. They can make all the money in the world. Just gotta follow certain rules to make sure you do not destroy St. Peter's Republican gets voted out. And I hope it's so suggested that the bill is politically motivated.
It is politically motivated. He's absolutely right, because these are on the book.
DeSantis is a close Trump ally, and many Republicans were outraged when the former president was blocked from social media platforms. Quote, we know this bill is as much about...
I don't care. There's more than one way to watch the president. And if you think that that's the only way to watch it, then your IQ is pretty down there in the dirt. There's plenty of places to watch the president. You just have to get up off your butt, find one of them, and go with it. Don't tell me that there aren't options. There are.
Political messaging as anything. Senate Minority Leader Gary Farmer, a Democrat from Lighthouse Point, said. But Senator Kelly Starbuck of Lakeland said people have exercised free speech on social media and that platforms arbitrarily shut down the expression. I'm going to prove it, just you wait. When you get to a situation where a business has a monopoly on a message and the ability to direct a message through that monopoly...
The same problem. They lie. There's not this responsibility of being honest. The bill isn't trying to strike any kind of balance.
That issue of entrepreneurship on someone else's anymore. You can always try and source a difference. And if you want newsworthy things, and I talked about some of these things, for the most part, I seem to be okay. But I'll give you an example now of exactly.
Platforms are perceived to be applied to executive.
This is the video that we watched.
Right.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Jack Dorsey has no idea what he's talking about. He's a figurehead who is.
That's right. And how could he? I mean, how many people are on Twitter? But all the rest of it is true too. It's like, yeah, Jack Dorsey doesn't have any idea what's going on. He doesn't care. He looks like he's bored. He doesn't give a damn. He knows nothing's going to happen with this.
Propped up. He doesn't do anything. He can't tell you about the company. And Twitter just keeps.
That's right. Because there's millions of people who use Twitter. How the hell is he going to know? I'm not surprised at all. I don't expect him to know.
Doing this. That's right. Project activists, pricey house news, fake lists.
So all of that questioning was wrong. Instead of Dan talking about something specific, he should have just gone ahead and brought it up himself and said, here are instances, here are contrary instances, let's watch the videos. What is your policy on this stuff? I don't know. It comes down to questioning with this. There's no reason why, if you were interviewing Jack, you should have all this prepared well in advance where you could back him into a clear and obvious corner. But he didn't. He left it open. He's like, well, I don't know about this case. It's like, yeah, of course he doesn't. You know, how many times does that go on? It goes on apparently all the time, especially according to someone like Tim Pool, who keeps up on this stuff as far as I'm aware, that he does a pretty good job of it at least, and he knocks it out of the park. I mean, he found all this.
The story was...
Because this isn't what I'm doing. I'm not here to bring the news. I'm here to show that there are lies, whether they're intentional or unintentional. And I'm fed up with them. And I'm going to build a website, and I'm going to put an end to all this nonsense.
The New York Post and the Daily Mail, they had a breaking story. A Black Lives Matter leader, I believe one of the founders, even a supposed trained Marxist.
I don't care if they're trained Marxists. I saw this too, where they were living in $1 million home, and it's like, so what? I don't care. So they did it. I don't care. You know, is there stuff that they're lying about? That I care about. Or are they being manipulative? That I care about. Why were they able to do it? That's what I want to know. I don't care if somebody has money. I care about the tactics that they're using. Are they legitimate or are they trash?
Had purchased at one point, what are we going to do? Can't pretend anymore. The story went viral, Twitter moved. I take you now to the proof. This is a tweet from CNN, February 20th, 2018. Certainly this video that I'm doing right now showing you this must be fine. Why? Well, I'm just showing you a verified tweet from CNN with 2.2 million views outside of a woman's home with a reporter. They say, a Florida woman who ran a Trump supporters page that unwittingly promoted a Russian coordinated event on Facebook says she doesn't believe she was influenced by Kremlin-linked trolls. CNN went to a private resident's home, showed the home. That's allowed.
I don't give a damn. I don't understand this crap with doxing at all. You know what? They have these books. They have these yellow books. And they call them the yellow pages. And you know what they have? They have the list of peoples with their names, their addresses, their phone numbers. Whenever I was growing up as a kid, that was the only way you could find just about anybody. It was hard. And you could just look somebody's name and phone number up in the phone book and their address. Whenever I was going to high school, they did the same thing. Every year, they had kind of like a phone book for students. And it had their name, I believe it had their address, and it had their phone number. And so you could look up all your classmates and you could give them a ring. I know I did that several times myself. They were thin little things. Because, I mean, it was just for like high school and junior high. But just small little things, just a few pages. And it had every class, so it had the entire, everyone who was in elementary school, everyone who was in junior high, everyone who was in high school. So what? It's the same issue, is that we have laws on the book about what you can or cannot do. And going and harassing someone at their house is illegal. having your information out there should not be a problem. The people who show up at your house is the problem. You should not be able to just randomly go up. That's why nobody here cares. Because who's going to do anything to this woman? Nobody. Because it's just another news thing. They do it on the news all the time. Or at least they used to. I don't know about today. But they wanted to go up and they wanted to interview somebody at their house or whatever. They wanted to find out what was going on. Happens all the time. You can see it like with Trump, with his election. People were going around and they were taking the signs out of people's yards. And they'd interview the people. Some of them were setting them up so that you get a little electrical shock. Or they would put some kind of sticky stuff on it so you get your hands all messed up. Some of them had things like they'd put some razor blades on them and stuff. And it's like, I don't know about all that. I mean, it's just a sign. It's cheap. And I understand it's still theft, absolutely, but I don't know. Doing harm like that is kind of different, you know, so I would not recommend that at all. But yeah, the problem isn't the doxing and knowing where somebody lives. The problem is the people who are stupid enough to actually go do something. It's like, I don't give a damn if I get doxxed someday. I got something for you. Tell you what, I'll deal with you. But good luck. I mean, this is Texas. Texas is pretty good about that stuff and dealing with you too. So
Facebook removes news because it might show someone's home. Project Veritas gets banned from Twitter. You see how these companies lie.
Yep, that's it. They lie. They hold double standards. That's fraud. That is a form of fraud.
Powerful. What James O'Keefe is doing, suing CNN and Twitter for their lies, is powerful.
For false and defamatory statements. These are already on the books. We don't need more. We need the politicians to be accountable and these elected officials to do the jobs that they're already supposed to be doing.
But let me show you the bill. I want to mention, too, we also have Texas, which is doing this. But let me show you this bill, SB 7072.
I've gone into this enough. I think you get the hint. You get the message, unless if you're just completely brain dead. If for some reason, if you don't understand any of this, or maybe you really get it and you want to give a thumbs up, put a little comment down there as to what it is that you get. Oh yeah, this part made complete sense. Or if you want to give a thumbs down, don't just give a thumbs up or thumbs down. Give a little comment. Let me know, kind of what's clicking. I think that it's just so much a case of people just not understanding. Was there something that I said that you haven't heard before? It's like, I think one of the things that people don't ever talk about is, why are politicians not doing their job? Why aren't they being held accountable? Why don't they ever go to prison? There's like no magic that happens whenever a person gets into office that they're just a wonderful person being now. It's like, no. There are people who are in office who are trash and garbage, and that they are doing things that should absolutely send them to prison. So why aren't they? They're there. There absolutely is. You're not going to tell me that every single politician is some kind of saint. Because if they are for some reason, well then how did that happen? How is it that all politicians are saints? They're people. And they do messed up things. And there are people who do messed up things with every single job out there. Politics is no exception. Good place to stop right here. Pretty good size length on the video. If you've liked and you've enjoyed this stuff, help me out. Give me that thumbs up. Subscribe, become a member. I have Patreon and Subscribestar. I'll have links down in the description below for Tim Pool's video and maybe a couple of these little websites here as well, so you can review this at your leisure. I hope you've enjoyed, and we will see you again later. Bye.